Oh, yeah. I grew up like. Oh, okay. Yeah. I have like.
Going back to my YouTube instructionals. Live stream.
Oh, I just might be record. I know I'm into the big match. I know you're the other shitty Manchester club is sorry? Yeah, I know. I say the other shitty club, not the other city club, right? So
Twenty 2023 best way to make money on Amazon is not with this video. We show you how to live on watch your live stream. Select the solution for your live stream, the date and time. Let's choose 22nd and let's choose the time as 2 p.m. and click done. A live stream is now set up. One feature that you might want to explore is this option called Enable Auto Start. With this feature on, by clicking Enable, now what will happen is when your Zoom meeting starts streaming, YouTube will automatically start your live stream. You can also enable auto stop. Click enable. Now what will happen is when you stop streaming from Zoom, the YouTube automatically will stop streaming. We now need 3 bits of information from here to use in Zoom. If you open the program, for example, Notepad, first I need the stream key that is available USB-C goes in somewhere.
I need here on this I icon. Then select copy. Let me paste it in my notepad. Yeah, that's the stream key. Next, I need the stream URL, and that's the
Stream key.
And put it in notepad.
Yeah, like should be in the back end already, like into the YouTube thing, but I just don't know how to actually start it.
Here. It is currently hidden, but I can hide it by clicking on this icon. I want to say, do you have to be in like creator mode or whatever, and like that? So that's the stream key.
So this is I'm here.
Okay.
But I don't see any of the like when I set it up. Let's see, live stream, video length.
And are you started on Zoom?
I'm started, but it's not
not
synced
connected,
up.
yeah.
Like, let's see. So there's different options here. If I remember you have to go to some.
Don't. I assumed it was one.
There's different options here. If I remember you have to go to some.
It's embarrassing. Yeah, I guess it's live. You can't show it.
It's gonna start. It's gonna start echoing like crazy, right?
You may. Yeah.
important work we must commit to and expand upon in solidarity with Indigenous people. We stand in solidarity with 1492 Landback Lane, the Wet'suwet'en land defenders and their allies across the province. We stand in solidarity with the families of the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and with survivors of the residential school system, and with their families and with those families whose children never returned. We must organize with these and all other Indigenous people against the ongoing genocide perpetuated by the Canadian state and big business, with the goal of winning Indigenous nations the right to self-determination and sovereignty up to and including secession. And I'll hand it over to Sam.
Thank you, Matt. Hi, I'm Sam. Thank you all for coming and welcome to the celebration and recognition of International Women's Day 2024. One of your MCs.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Matt.
Yay!
Your other MC. Today we'll hear from organizers, storytellers, and advocates on the entwined struggles of peace and gender equality. Thank you to all our speakers and performers. Thank you to Daniel, Josh behind the bar for hosting us. The program will run until shortly after 3, after which we invite you to stay and socialize and get to meet the other people that are here. There is limited seating, so please be generous with offering your seat to someone who may need it. This event is funded by donations, so if you like what you hear and you eat today, there's samosas in the back. There's a jar on the bar to chip in. It's actually on the boat table. All right, and I'd like to hand it over to Sam. So our first speaker will be Jean. Thank you, Jean. Jean McGuire is a founding member of the Anti-Apartheid Organization, Canadians Concerned with South Africa, past president of the Congress of Canadian Women, and formerly on the executive of Toronto Action for Chile, which worked to oppose the Pinochet fascist dictatorship. Are you ready, Jean?
Had my eyes operated on, and now I can see without glasses exact when I'm reading. So, and I do have to read some of what I have brought with me today because I don't want to forget any of the important things. Am I being clear? Good. Any of the important things. So first of all, I want to thank the people who have organized this event. It's really an important event in the calendar of progressives around the world. International Women's Day is one of the major events, along with May Day and some other. November the 7th. I also want to express my thanks for being invited to speak. It's an honor to be participating here with you, and it's an honor to be part of a panel of speakers and performers. I mean, it's just quite impressive to be part of that group. And it's an honor also because I've been asked to speak on behalf of the Communist Party of Canada, and that to me is an honor as well. The challenges facing women in Canada have long tentacles in the society that we live in. Particularly for the Indigenous population of Canada, the tentacles go back centuries. And they are recurring and they are ongoing with massive inequalities, social injustice, and the inequalities are in all the areas for the Indigenous population, in housing, in education, in health, and particularly within the legal system, where they are victims of really legal injustices. They also face the ever-present menace of violence. Thank you very much. That's much better. I'm not. That's the difficulty of being short. The ever-present menace of violence, and as we all know, that includes murder. For Canadian women, we all know that the list of problems and the injustices is also long. Unequal wages, reproductive rights that are not met. So there's a whole host of problems that confront them. And I don't want to list them all. The Communist Party has a flyer and it has a newspaper back there, and the program, our statement for International Women's Day, is in it. I don't have to reiterate it to all of you. You know the kinds of problems that people are facing. Instead of talking about the injustices, I'd like to just spend a couple of minutes talking about the cause of the injustice. And I actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to read you a quote from a philosopher from 1728 who said, "It would be easier, where property is well secured, to live without money than to live without the poor, for who would do the work?" And that's really quite true. Who would do the work? And work is really where the problem exists. You know, people often think that the rich have money and they employ us to work. It's the other way around. They employ us to work and therefore they are rich, because it is our work that makes them rich. And I want to draw your attention to a really clear example of that. Look at what happened during the pandemic. Who made millions of dollars in profit? Food companies. The food distributors, Loblaw, Sobeys, Metro, and the food manufacturing, the canning, the meat processors, the bakeries, the flour mills. Those people made a lot of money. How much money would they have made if nobody had worked? Like, some people didn't work during the pandemic. If those people had worked during the pandemic, how much money did Metro or Loblaw? They made money because people. And that, I think we have to get to understand that the injustices that flow in this system, somebody once said, and some of you will recognize this one, that capitalism, the name of the social system, has only 4 problems: racism, sexism, poverty, and war. Well, we can now add entire destruction of the environment and the climate to the list of 4. But traditionally, those were the four pillars of it. Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm not using anything. Keep it right on here. So it's not just that they make the profits, it's that they control then all the variables of that social system in terms of what gets allowed, what gets promoted. The attack right now on Medicare. Why is there an attack on Medicare? What possible reason could anybody have for attacking Medicare? Well, I'll play them on. Because you could make a profit. And they cannot stand to see anything that could make a profit being in the hands of the people and not making a profit. And ever since Medicare became a reality in Canada, they have been looking for the opportunity to turn it back, to wind it back. They edged in, they made a crisis. They underfund. And when it's underfunded, people want change. And then they come up with a solution. Give it to us, we'll make it work. And that's the source of those injustices. And that's what we have to change. We have to make the changes all along. We have to protect Medicare. We have to defend education. We have to expand childcare. We have to do all those things. But if we want to safeguard those things, we have to change the system that requires those things. And that, I think, is what is important. But today is a day of solidarity. That is what International Women's Day started as. And I have to make the claim now, as the representative of the Communist Party, it was the communist movement that moved the creation of International Women's Day. And we host it and we celebrate it today because of those women who struggled many over 100 years ago to do that. And it's a day of solidarity. And every era is marked by causes that grabbed the imagination and the hearts and the minds of people. So you had the cause of Spain against fascism, the cause of the Vietnamese against French colonialism and then American imperialism, the cause of the South African population against apartheid, the cause of civil rights in the United States. Every generation has that kind of thing. The cause, by the way, of Cuba, who emerged like a beacon of hope in the Western Hemisphere, and everybody just was so thrilled to see this event occur, the Cuban Revolution, and have since then been attacked over and over. And there was an actual military attack, but you don't need the military when you can control everything else, like trade, like access to medicine, like access to food, like access to fuel, all of it. And they have gone under attack. And, we stood with Cuba when they had the revolution, and we have to stand with Cuba still. They still need our support. They still need our solidarity. They stood for the idea of a better world, a more equitable world, a more just world. And we have to stand with them with that. But today there is a struggle that has caught our imagination and demands our solidarity. And that is, of course, the struggle of the Palestinian people. And we have to stand with them, with their rights as a nation, to an end to the occupation, and now an end to the bombing, to the slaughter, to the genocide that is going on there. Many of you may have seen the article by Ralph Nader that just came out a day or so ago, in which he says he does not believe that 30,000 people have been killed in Gaza. He said Gaza is the same geographical territory as the city of Philadelphia. And the city of Philadelphia has about 1.5 million people. Gaza has over 2 million people. And he said, now consider, if somebody bombed Philadelphia for these number of days, 65,000 bombs and missiles struck into Gaza. He said, do you really think the total death toll would be 30,000? And he's got a point. The possibility, and his argument is that we're getting underreporting here. He thinks it's far more likely to be 200 to 300,000 who have been killed in Gaza today. And that's a significant difference. 20,000 is bad, 30,000 is horrible, but 300, 200, 300,000? This really puts genocide clearly on the table. This is not a thought. This is a reality, if he is correct. And I thought he had some really sound arguments about that. I think we need to make IWD, International Women's Day in 2024, a day when we make our pledge to stand with the Palestinian people. And how can we best do that? For Canadians, our job is not only to find the allies, to build the movement here in Canada, to help expand the reach to those sectors that haven't yet become active, who haven't yet understood what is coming down. I was thinking through this. You remember Rwanda? You remember how horrified everybody was? We made a big thing about Colonel Dallaire, was it, who was there and said, this is awful. Whoa, just a minute, we've got it again. And we're still sitting back, we're still waiting. We've got a government who just the other day allowed real estate agents into this country to sell stolen land.
Shame.
It's an illegal thing to do. What was our government doing? That is our job. Our job is to take on the Canadian government, the Canadian state, and end its complicity with this brutal occupation genocide that is going on. I want to just read, for women, it's not always easy to get into the struggle. For many of us, that's not our upbringing. We weren't encouraged. We didn't see our role as demanding. We tended to ask politely, nicely, please. We didn't stand up and say, I want that. I deserve that. It's mine by right. That's hard. There's a lot of barriers for women to jump in. And I want to just read to you a quote, if I can find it here, I do have it, from Rosa Parks. So I'm talking about the civil rights movement. Rosa Parks, as many of you will know, was the woman who sat down on the bus in Montgomery, Alabama, and refused to move when she was told to by the white conductor, the white bus driver. Now, some people think she sat in the white section of the bus, but she didn't. She actually sat in the colored section of the bus, but although it was illegal for them to do this, the practice was that if there was white standing, they would then move blacks out of the colored area and allow the colored section to become a white section for that trip. And she was sitting in the colored seats, along with 3 other people, and the bus driver told her to move. The other 3 people resisted, but when they were threatened with cops, they moved. And she did too, but she moved over to the window seat and stayed there. And she said, let me read this, excuse me. I had not planned to be arrested. I had plenty to do without having to end up in jail. But when I had to face that decision, I didn't hesitate to do so because I felt that we had endured that too long. The more we gave in, the more we compromised with that kind of treatment, the more the oppressive it became. That's exactly correct. The longer it goes on, the worse it becomes. And every time you concede an inch, they take the inch and then push you another inch. And that's what we have to fight. But she's also commenting about how it is sometimes difficult for women to do that. But you know what? What's interesting? Oh, I should also say, by the way, that a bus strike, the blacks in Montgomery, Alabama went on a strike against using the buses for 381 days. And they broke it. You know, she didn't get rid of racism, obviously. That's still around. But she did break segregation in the buses in Montgomery, Alabama, because of that 300, not she, her action stimulated it, but it was the action of the masses. No black took a bus for 381 days. Which meant a lot. The buses sat idle because who was going to work? Who was riding them to go to work? The white population had, a lot of them had cars, whereas the blacks did not. So it may be more difficult for women to get involved. But what's interesting about it, and in my experience, and I'm sure it's been in your experience as well, once they do, there's no movement. They become an absolute crucial part, indomitable, just unmovable. And I want to end by talking about one of the slogans of the movement that I was linked to through my work in the solidarity with the people of South Africa, was the slogan that was part of a resistance song in South Africa, and it became a slogan for the women of the world at that time. You strike the women, and you strike the rock. You strike the women, you strike the rock. We don't move. And we've seen that time and again, like Rosa Parks, who refused to move. People who have stood in front of guns and said, I'm not moving. That is the will, the spirit, the determination that we as women and brothers and sisters and comrades and friends who are here today, and I'm urging you all, that is the spirit that we need coming out of this International Women's Day to stand with Palestine. Yes.
Thank you so much, Jean. We really need reminders sometimes as our strength is unwavering. Faith Nolan will be coming up next. Woohoo! Yay! Faith is a folk and jazz singer, songwriter with a decades-long music career, who identifies as a lesbian woman and gives voice to feminist struggles, advocates for workers' and children's rights, and raises awareness for the disproportionate number of Indigenous and Black women who are imprisoned in Canada. I think we got banjo, we got harmonica. Bass. Bass? I don't know.
Rachel Mullins, she's the most famous Jewish lesbian bass player in Toronto. Oh, the Canadian, It's really a pleasure to be here. I was at IWD yesterday in Peterborough, and it was a business kind of IWD, you know, small towns, like the local Sobe sponsored it. So disgusted. And I only met one woman at the end, and she said to me, "Oh, you know, I'm a teacher at Trent University, and I said, what do you teach?" She said, cultural studies. I said, well, what's that? She said, oh, it's all anti-capitalism. And that made my day when I heard the anti-capitalism, because I'm so sick of everyone trying to pimp off every fucking thing. You know, it's disgusting. It's all capitalism, and people's mindsets are just so geared to it. Everything is, how much can I make? Like, that's why I did this gig. Like, how much can I make? You know, I'm trying to, like, I'm making millions here. You know, it's like, but no, seriously, it's disgusting. And so International Women's Day, you know, is almost like we have to really hold it to becoming a day of liberation. You know, we have to put the liberation back in it. Just like Black History Month, we have to put Black liberation. Because it's about the freedom movement, it's about an anti-capitalist and a global movement. So anytime you hear that word, International Women's Month, you say International Women's Liberation Month. Can you say that? International Women's Liberation Month. That's right. I wrote a song when I was 14. It's called Kill All the Bosses. And my partner said, don't sing it, it's hateful. God willing, it's not. I'm sorry. I'm on. Thank you. So I want you to sing with me, because you know, honestly, I'm really so glad to be here. I'm serious, even though, you know, I might have given a few of you scowls. I just might, you know, curmudgeon-y as you age, right? Like, I'm really old, so like, but I do love you, aside from all that. So I say, then you say back, right? Okay. Which one would you like to do? Okay, you want to do that one? Okay. I said, I'm on my way. And then you say, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. I'm get going. Just kidding. Okay, here we go. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. Freedom land. Freedom land. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. Freedom land. Freedom land. I'm on my way. I'm on my way. To freedom land. Freedom land. On my way, I'm 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 on my way. If my mama can't go, mama can't go, I go anyhow, I go. If mama can't go, if mama can't go, I go anyhow, I go anyhow. I'm on my way, I'm on my way, to freedom land, freedom land. I'm on my way, I'm on my way, I'm on my way. If my sister can't go, if my sister can't anyhow. I forgot my strap, you know, a guitar strap, so I kind of, I had to put it under one breast. Hopefully the sag is enough to hold it. Okay. Not very nice to laugh at my sag. Thank you so much. She loves my saggy breast. You know, it's like a thing, man. Everybody got their thing. I don't, you know, whatever thing turns you on. It's okay. Okay, what did we practice? We did practice something this morning. Yeah, we practiced this. Okay, let's do this one. Oh yeah, let's do that. Yeah, but let's do the Jimmy Cliff song. Yeah, but I'm gonna do. Yeah, I want to do Jimmy Cliff first. Yeah, Jimmy, you like Jimmy Cliff? Yeah, he's like, he was so right. He had a song like "No Vietnam" and like, I'm the worker and I, you know, I want my rights. He's such a fantastic lefty musician. But that's why they chose Bob's good too. But Bob was more like, you know, everybody. Yeah. But he didn't really say who everybody was. But you know, but Jimmy Cliff really said who he was talking about, working, suffering people. So anyways, this is a song, and I'm gonna do this song for the old commies. I know there's a lot of, not too many old commies left, they dying out, but whoever's still here, this is for you. You know who you are. Okay? Years have come, years have gone. Still a lefty, we carry on. Journey home. In a sense to experience from where we've been to where we go as we journey on. I want you to try that part with me. As we journey on. Well, I have loved and I've been loved. I have judged and I've been judged, but I journey on. Nice. One more time. Oh, I journey on. I was captured on the banks of the river Nile, traveling on the seven seas. Still I journey on. Oh, I journey on. Well, I've seen the wars and I've seen the love. I've seen the hate. I stood for a cause and I journey on. Come on, y'all. I journey on. There's been black and white, there's been gay and straight. Still, you know, I just can't wait to journey on. We have to journey on. Okay, let's get Spanish now. Aluta continua, as we journey on, as we journey on. And we have to remember, well, there ain't no power but the power of the people. Ain't no power but the power of the people. I can't hear no. Ain't no power of the people. Ain't no power but the power of the people. Journey on. A lucha continua. El pueblo unido. What's that? Pueblo unido. Armada vencido. Journey on. Let's see. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Board's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. He's got to go. Journey on. Iran will stop the killing in the Sudan. Stop the killing in the Gaza Strip as we journey. Journey on. No more missing, murdered indigenous sisters. No more killing of women, mister. We journey. Journey on. One more time, let's go on this journey. Let's journey. Journey on. One more time, I can hear it in the back. Let's journey. Journey on. Very nice. I didn't know comedy could sing so good. Must be the new young ones that came, because you guys sound good. The old ones, man, they was like, this is a little song, it's a blues song. What's it called? Oh, yeah. Oh, we can sing this one together. I like singing it. I'm so hot. Nice MCs. Nice. You know, sitting there chatting. Just sitting right in front of me, like 2 feet away. She's like, did you see that dress in the window? What the? I'm just teasing. That's okay. You're turning red. I'm so glad I'm not white. I'd probably be red all the time. And I noticed I was the only black person. I saw a lot of Asian people here, which I'm glad all around, But I didn't see any black people in here but me. So I was told I could have all the money in the box on the token payment. Okay, so here we go. This is a song I wrote. In 1945, when the war ended, I know we always go back in history, but 1945, the war ended, and a guy named Pastor Martin, that's his name, he wrote a poem because while the Nazis were like rallying up, like nowadays, now while the capitalists are rallying up and creating like devastating homelessness and wars, and we're on the brink of war and everything. This was the same time, 1945, this was the Second World War, and all this stuff was going on. And a lot of people just sat in their asses. I don't think Walmart was around, but people were busy shopping at Walmart. That's the thing. If people put as much energy into shopping, into revolutionary activity as they did to shopping, this would be a different world. So, anyways, he wrote this poem about like why people sitting on their ass while others are dying. Like. Is it 70% of the world is refugees and displaced? It's an incredible world we live in, and I can't help but I'm married well, so I'm a bit of a bourgeois pig. Bourgeois pig. I feel quite ashamed about it, The soy milk is shitting it, Well, anyways, that wasn't getting off topic, but the song. Anyways. The chorus goes, well, yeah, the whole thing's kind of a chorus. First they came for the Jews, and I didn't speak up. I didn't ask them why, you see, I was not a Jew. So I didn't even try. Then they came for the communists, and I did not speak up. I didn't ask anybody why. You see, I wasn't a communist, so I didn't even try. Then they came for the blacks, I still did not speak up. See, I wasn't black. I didn't ask them why. I didn't even try. Then they came for the land and the people and the women, and I still did not speak up. see, I wasn't of the land, I wasn't indigenous, I wasn't. So I did not, didn't even try. Now they come for the homeless, the queers, the trans, the bi, the lesbians. And I still can't speak up. Not a queer, I'm not bi, I'm not trans. So I'm not even going to ask them why. Now I hear they're coming for me. Yeah. And there's nobody left to dry. I hear they're coming for me. And you know it's time. It's been time for a long time to speak up. Time to act wild. Time we can side by side. By the time they come, you know we will be billion, trillion. We will be side by side. Time to speak up. That's the chorus. Time to speak up. Time to speak up. I forgot to look at the program. Could you please tell me, like, what time is it? Should I get off now? You'll tell me in 5 minutes. Okay, thank you. Thank you, because I could go all day. But I don't want to be a pig. Okay. This is I want to do a song about women, I guess. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah? We should. Well, I'm kind of torn because I was thinking about, that old song all the old white ladies sing. I'm tired of that shit.
Milton Ellis.
Don't sing. Thank you. Said it. You did shit. Man. Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to sing well, it's kind of okay. Well, yeah. It's called. It's a song I wrote called "The Highway of Tears." It just came to mind. Sorry, Rach. Didn't even. Well, it's a highway of tears that's been growing all these years. Women are murdered, women are gone. It's not here. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, stop this highway, stop the highway of tears. No battle Salish, the height of white. My grandma, big mom, we got the Cree, we got the Onondaga, we got the Blackfoot, all these snobby. Hear the people crying in the forest, in a big city, all over the highways in this country. Down this highway, stop the highway of tears. Sing along. Way ahead, oh way high, way high. Oh, stop the highway of tears. One more time, okay. You get it now. Here we go. Oh, way high, oh, way high, stop the highway shit. Okay, you ready? Oh, wait. Oh, wait. You hear your mother cry, your sister too. You hear your daughters, your cousins too. As the blood runs cold all through the trees. You hear the crying, the spirits in the breeze. Where are they? Where are they? Thank you very much for singing along. Remember, the only good thing is a dead thing. Boss is dead. Boss. The only good love is the people's love. You say, the people united will never be defeated. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. Oh, hey, Mr. Keep your hand off my sister. Hey, Mr. Keep your hands off my sister. Whose streets? Our streets. Whose lives? Our lives. Whose streets? Our streets. The only bourgeoisie, the only good bourgeoisie is dead.
In a drink or something?
Yes.
Woo! Woo!
Where do you go? My wife hanging out. Remember those kids playing.
Are you enjoying it? It did like a few years. Exhibition and
But
Are you thinking at the programming committee?
oh yeah, you're on it.
I thought he was making like a joke.
No, I completely forgot. And I forgot that I was here. I was like, oh, you know, yeah, yeah. No, that'll be good. I think I have a Porsche.
I would give you a hug, but I have no hands.
That's okay. I want to shop and he's like, no, here, I just.
No, I have to get back. I just saw you and wanted to say hi.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, yeah. So like people all the way through the event. So I'm like, oh, hello.
Yeah,
And then I do a loop and I do it again.
yeah, you got a posse back there?
There's a few people. There's some CCFA folks.
Oh, great. Yeah, Tessa's back there.
Yeah. How are you?
Great. Did you just get here or were you back there?
I missed the first speaker. The sing along was here. Yeah.
But it made the city song.
You want to come here? Yeah. The people that are showing.
I know. Maybe your socks didn't go that way. Something like that.
Back this way. Get an indigent company. It's $100.
But well, babe. Well, I don't know, we have more kids. Maybe if she's driving here, then she would like to. She doesn't start her. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It's 2 p.m.
What? I don't know, she's 40. She's from Starbucks. She's walking. Maybe she couldn't understand that, you know, Scarborough line 3 and the innocent exist anymore, so I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know. I still think not hearing her.
I know.
I mean, I hope she's okay.
I was coming back because Jack, you know, well, not actually her boss, she's elected. She's elected now. Next United May Day is on. Did your committee meet?
I have been.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No.
I mean, I know.
Think about the connection. Did you work on this? Yeah, just one that was way off. It's nothing way off. Recommendations for- This place is big. What people really want, I think, last year. Yeah, people really want like dancing or like sort of not really something like yeah, like hosting different features to make speeches share. And I think maybe even having like speeches for keeping them short. And then yeah. I've created this. Whatever.
There's no.
For what?
That's not.
Yeah. Sort of big.
That's like I want.
So you just share.
Yeah, that's what I think Leo and I will be playing. Yeah. But it's
Florence in your club. Florence needs to make busy, but
All right, everybody can get your phones out, start to settle back to your
Don't let anyone take my seat. There we go.
Find your seats, everybody. If I can get to the tune song, everybody has a chance. Thank you. All right, okay. All right, thank you so much, Faith and Rachel. Thanks very much. That was unforgettable as always. Next, we are going to hear from Yara Shufani. Yara is an organizer with the Palestinian movement and a PhD student in political science at York University. So welcome, Yara. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone for being here. So maybe I'll start with just a story about I think the most famous Palestinian woman, Leila Khaled. Some of you may have heard of Leila. She is the first woman to ever hijack a plane, which was at the time the strategy of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, a Marxist-Leninist party in the Palestinian arena. And the strategy of plane hijackings in this period, the 60s and 70s, was really kind of meant not to harm any of the individuals at all. Actually, it was one of Leila's comrades, Patrick Arguello, who was a member of the Sandinistas, had traveled to take on this experiment with her, who was killed on the plane hijacking. So it wasn't any on the plane, but the strategy was meant to bring attention to the Palestinian national liberation struggle. So it was a tactic of the time period. And Leila became involved with the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, the PFLP. She was actually looking for a political party to be able to be engaged in armed struggle in. And so she approached the more mass political party initially, and they said to her, well, we can give you sort of more secretary-based tasks, administrative tasks. And so it was the Communist Party that said to her, we'll train you and we'll train you to be a member of the struggle. And so Leila has this reflection when she's training to become involved in the 60s. And this is in 1969. So Leila is in the process of being trained to engage in armed struggle, and she's in this training with other women, and she hears the story on the news of a Palestinian woman named Amina Dahpour, who became the first woman to participate in a foreign operation. And Leila says, within a few minutes, we were all celebrating the liberation of Palestine and the liberation of women. And I think what stands out to me in this particular quote is the way in which she so clearly sees the liberation of Palestinian women as part of the national liberation struggle. It's actually through participation in the national liberation struggle that Palestinian women become free. And for that reason, I kind of want to actually focus a bit more on the national liberation struggle today as a sort of political decision, because we're I don't need to kind of recite the numbers. We are 5 months into a genocide, and I feel like for the last 5 months, as we've been mobilizing record numbers all across the world in what's the early stages of a mass movement that I think many are starting to point, I think, correctly to say that this has the remnants of the Vietnam anti-war movement, and it signals the sort of resurgence of a particular era, and one of the constant conversations that I've been having as I've been tasked with the unfortunate role of media in the last 5 months in my political organization. And one of the constant kind of things that I've been saying over and over is like, it didn't start on October 7th. And but I actually want to kind of pose this question of like, well, when did it start, and when did the Palestinian national liberation struggle develop the kind of character that it did? And oftentimes people say, well, it was 1948, it was during the Nakba. But if we started there, we can't explain why 750,000 Palestinians were expelled, right? Like, why didn't they fight? And actually, Palestine was lost in 1939. And 1939 was when the revolution, the Great Revolution of the Palestinian peasantry and working class was defeated. And this revolution that began concretely in 1936, but was being worked up to prior, was a revolution where the Palestinian peasantry that was, by 1935, 15% of the Palestinian peasantry, 35% of the Palestinian peasantry had been already rendered landless. So, the Zionist colonization of Palestine began long before the establishment of the State of Israel, and it was facilitated through the British. It was British colonialism. When we say facilitated through the British, oftentimes we think, okay, Balfour signed this declaration handing off the land, but actually the British were occupying the land and were facilitating the transfer of Zionist settlers, including Zionist workers. And so, there was a Zionist kind of capitalist class that was being formed, but there was also the Palestinian peasantry that was being removed from the land. Was it being transitioned into some kind of workforce, actually? Because workers were being brought in, Zionist workers were being brought in Europe. And so the Palestinian peasantry kind of developed this really radical, revolutionary current during this period of time. And one of the figures of this time, one of the most important figures of this time, was a sheikh by the name of Izzeddin al-Qassam, who was a Syrian sheikh. He had been involved in the anti-colonial struggle in Syria, and he was wanted for death, and so fled to Palestine. And he began to disseminate revolutionary consciousness. He did this through his sermons. He used to preach at one of the most working class, in one of the most working class parts of Palestine, and he really believed in the role of the peasantry. And it was in this period of time that the Palestinian national liberation struggle began to be articulated as a struggle against three enemies. The first is the enemy of Western imperialism. At the time it was the British, and in its current formation, it's most clearly American imperialism. The second was the enemy of the Zionist settler colonialism. And the third was the enemy of the Palestinian elites, who at the time in the 1920s and 30s were trying to negotiate with the British, trying to convince the British that actually we can be your partners in the development of this land. Of course, the British were not interested, but they would use and leverage the Palestinian elites as a way to destroy and disarm the revolution of the peasantry. And so Sheikh Izzeddin al-Qassam basically said, these are our three enemies, and we're going to carve out an alternative path, a path that is different to the path of the Palestinian elites. And we're going to, our path is going to be the path of armed struggle. And he would go around the countryside, popularizing to the Palestinian peasantry through his sermon, but also through classes about why the Palestinians needed to take up arms. and who the Palestinians needed to take arms against. And one of the kind of, I guess, small little notes here that I'll reflect on is that there's this sort of interview that was done with Palestinian women just a few decades ago, and one of the women that was interviewed, her name is Samir. I'm just going to read a quote here from her. She says, "As a child, I used to sit up at night and listen to my father talking to his friends and ask questions. And when I was 8 or 9, I used to join the demonstrations on Balfour Day without understanding anything. Then Izzeddin al-Qassam came to the schools to mobilize us. He found the ground prepared in Haifa and organized a group of schoolgirls, and we worked for him during the revolt. I had some training with a rifle, but I never fought. Mainly, we prepared food and took it to the fighters because the men couldn't move around as freely as we could, and we acted as couriers and collected money for the movement. My family encouraged me because they believed in the cause. In fact, as long as we were involved in the struggle, no one ever criticized us, although we were in our teens and roamed around quite freely. Even when I went to a village I didn't know and was taken by a guy, a man, to deliver a message, even then no one thought anything of it. On the contrary, the peasant women would salute you if they saw you were in the movement. It was that political work that opened my eyes to the social problems of our country." And so even from these really early kinds of the earliest days of the Palestinian national liberation struggle, the role that women played was clear, and that it was less so a role against the kind of unique oppression of women, but it was actually that through the Palestinian national liberation struggle, women would through its participation, women would become free, and that this Palestinian national liberation struggle was a struggle against these three enemies, what Palestinian communists Hassan Kanafani called the enemy trinity. And I think in this moment, these three enemies are really clear. At the time that we're building, I think, a historic mass movement, we see clearly the enemy of Zionism, which continues to colonize Palestinian land, imprison Palestinian people, which is engaged in a brutal assault against the part of Palestinian resistance, the Gaza Strip, which has shown arguably that there is a path, a Palestinian path of revolution, different to the path that has been chosen by the Palestinian Comprador class, which is the Palestinian Authority, that signed in 1930 or 1993 the Oslo Accords, cementing a two-state project, and this was a betrayal, and it was a betrayal that was orchestrated by a Palestinian capitalist class, largely that lived outside of Palestine, that had built its wealth in the imperialist countries, and that was interested in aligning with imperialism. And so the project of resistance that we've seen emerge in Gaza, which we call the popular cradle, meaning that it has a relationship to the Palestinian masses. The Palestinian people support this project of resistance, whether it ideologically aligns with them or not. Irrespective of that question, they support it because they support the project of armed struggle. And the project that emerged in the Gaza Strip is directly a project that opposes the capitulation of the Palestinian capitalists and the Palestinian comprador class. And we see the Palestinian Authority's continued imprisonment of Palestinian resistance leaders. We see its continued attempts to capitulate and to collude with US empire in this moment. And so this enemy stands true today. And of course, the enemy of imperialism, which arms the Zionist entity and which drives the war, drives this genocide, continues to be true today. And so arguably this enemy trinity that, Izzeddin al-Qassam in the 1920s articulated, and Palestinian communist Ghassan Kanafani also articulated in the 1970s, continues to be the enemy of today. And that's why this mass movement that's being built in this moment is a critical movement that we need to understand as one as in its early stages. We know that this is not the war of liberation. We know that the Palestinian struggle has been being waged for longer than 100 years, and the Palestinian people are ready to fight for another 100 years for their freedom, for their national liberation from the river to the sea, not for two states, but for an entire Palestinian nation. And we know that the Palestinian national liberation struggle is one that drives forward anti-imperialist struggle and anti-colonial struggle all across the world, and that the Palestinian struggle itself, if the Palestinians can defeat this enemy, if the Palestinians can defeat one of the most sophisticated and well-funded armies, that our time has ever seen, then it signals to the rest of the global south and it signals to the rest of the world that anything is possible, that we can defeat imperialism, that we can defeat colonialism, and that we can build a different world where the masses of the global south are free and practice national determination and sovereignty. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much, Yara. I haven't heard of the evil trinity before, but I appreciate you bringing that up to us today. Right now we have Zena coming up. Zena. And it's there. Quick break for notes. Zena is a Palestinian Canadian R&B singer songwriter. Her ethereal and sultry tones sucks people into her melodic world as she sings the stories of her emotional and physical experiences, womanhood, and living the Palestinian struggle in the diaspora. She is currently working on a recording project that is releasing in 2024. Thank you, Zena.
Yes, you hear me okay?
No. I don't know if the mic, oh, now the mic's on, now we're good.
How are you doing? Thank you guys for coming. By the way, my name is Zena. I'm from Palestine. Both my parents are from Palestine. I also wanted to say thank you, Yara, for speaking. You spoke so eloquently and beautifully. I learned a lot from you as a Palestinian myself. But yeah, both of my parents are from Palestine, and I think it's important to also say the areas of where they're from, because Palestine is being erased and the names are being erased. So my dad is from Majd al-Sadiq, which is in Haifa, but he grew up in Nablus, where he refuged from, and he grew up in a refugee camp called El Askar. And then my mom is from Hadhoud, which is a small town beside El Hadid, which they now call Hebron. But yes, that's where my parents are from, and I think it's also important to mention where they are from, because you need to make it apparent that these areas still exist and they need to be known. And part of what is happening in Palestine today is not just, saying free Palestine and just going about your day and knowing. It's also educating yourself about the land and educating yourself about the people and the relationship to the land that they have. So I think that's really important. I think it's important to remember these names, and before, God forbid, anything happens or more erasure happens. But yeah, I'm an artist. I'm an R&B artist, and I'm not particularly involved in activism, but I kind of consider art to be revolutionary regardless. And I think being Palestinian in the spotlight is revolutionary. My cousin loves to say resistance is existence. And I think it's really important to say that, because the whole point of Zionism is just erasing Palestinian existence and art and education and entertainment. Like, majority of the industry, of the entertainment industry, the music industry is owned by Zionists, and they control who's in the spotlight. And there's so many talented Arabs, so many talented Palestinians that don't get a chance to be in the mainstream, and it's fucked up. And and I think me being here and singing what I sing about, regardless of what it is, I think that's important. I write songs just about me being a girl in this girly world and growing it up. And I know for International Women's Day, we can sing along. I wanna be like, a mood upper. I don't know the word. But yeah, I wrote this first song called Suburban Dreams. I'm from London. And I grew up in like a very suburban city. And as someone who really dreams a lot and dreams for a better life for myself, I wrote this. Sorry, I just choked. I wrote this and yeah, like dedicated to that feeling. So these suburban dreams. Along with me, you guys. Right? Nah. Nah. Keep snapping with me, even if I snap. Suburban dream, suburban dream, suburban dream. It's not the life it seems. I like what the fairies say. Living in a big old castle, in the dusty dark gates of my rider. Yeah, I prepare for battle, two steppers under my saddle, stepping my sneakers out. Don't know who or where to shout. Awaiting my lovely crown, I recognize each face. The empty road looks so amazing. Smoking weed has my heart racing. I swear I'll be sweet. Trying to focus on my day, I recognize the purity. Heart to heart next to the tree. Not tonight, prosperity. I still want to keep the fire down in the city. Suburban dream. Suburban dream. Suburban dream. Suburban dream. You're insane, you're insane. You think that this is my way. No, you're insane, you're insane. You think that I'm gonna stay. Yeah, that's so lame. Smiling like free up eternity. But with your best, with the rest, with your best. There's no test that's too impressed. Can't keep waiting, I'm obsessed. I need more from me. Can't you see? You know I'm less underdressed, overstressed. I'm trying to beg. Where's the love? Where's the dough? I love them both. Suburban dream. Yeah. Suburban dream.
Suburban trees, yeah. Suburban trees. Sing along with me. You're insane.
Repeat after me.
You're insane.
You're insane.
You're insane.
You're insane.
You're insane.
You're insane.
I'm insane.
I'm insane.
You're insane.
Insane.
Suburban dreams, yeah. Suburban dreams, yeah. Suburban dreams, yeah. Suburban dreams. Yeah.
I don't know want to give a shout out from Nixon Claire and Nathan.
Woo!
I heard what our next song. What is the next song? Oh yeah, this is a song called Beautiful. I wrote this recently actually. And I kind of wrote it in like a manifestation. I like to write songs like in a way where like what I'm feeling, like not the feeling. I like to write it. So I would say a lot in the song, I feel beautiful. And I feel like as women, I think we think that we have to feel beautiful every single day. And that's not the case. Like we don't have to feel that's like I think we consider beauty as our entire identity. So we think that we have to carry it with us every day. But it's okay to not feel beautiful every single day. You can feel smart one day. You can feel like emotional the other day. You can feel empowered one day. You don't always have to feel beautiful. You know what I mean? But I wrote this when I didn't feel beautiful, and yeah, that's it. So if you guys, it's kind of like an easy song to catch up to. So if you want to sing along, go ahead and sing along.
Yeah. Nights so long ago, you held me under the blue moon. You laid eyes on me like you do. You move like the stuff that dazzle blue. In the never land you took me to. I mean my dreams and where we flew. Speak to my tooth glowing on my skin like honeydew. Do, 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 do. I think that I feel so beautiful. I feel so beautiful. And I can't let go of I will compensate. Communicating, overrated. I feel so beautiful. Can't expect you to go from a seed to a plant. Can't wait for 1 minute to change up. Yeah, I just wanna blow you in outer space, and save you from the trauma phase. Yeah, I mean my dreams and where we flew. Sweet summer tooth glowing on my skin like honeydew. Do, do, do. I feel so beautiful. Sing along with me after this, okay? Ready? I feel so beautiful. And I can't let go of all compensating.
I spend my mornings just like rose you make. Oh, man, the birds blind me with light me. I spend my mornings just like rose you make corners. Yeah. Oh, then the curtains are blind with light me with the light, the light, the light. Think that I think that I feel so beautiful, beautiful. I feel so beautiful, beautiful. And I can't let go of conversating, communicating, so already dancing. I feel so beautiful, beautiful. I think I feel so beautiful, beautiful. For some reason, it's like I'm like doing this and I feel so unproportionate. But you know what? It is what it is. Because if I put the mic here, it'll like ring. But it's okay. Like a little like here. If I like bring my chair up. Sorry, technical difficulties. All right. I always forget my set. Oh. Good. Are we good? Yeah. Okay, I'm not gonna touch it anymore. Okay, what's the next song? All right. I wrote this song about a breakup. I was really heartbroken, but I think over time, when the breakup was still happening, I realized that I was more heartbroken about the fact that not because of him, but I think because of how much of a loser he was. And I think like we've all related to that where it's like we're not upset about like the person and breaking up with them. We're upset about the fact that we like were with such a like terrible person for us. I'm not saying he's bad. I mean he is, but but it's like bad for me, you know what I mean? And it's like my ego broke. So I'm like, why am I with like this guy? Like, why did I even waste my time? Like, yeah, no, well, this is called ego. I'm gonna bring the mic to my mom because I feel like it's quiet. You feel quiet, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right. Go say yes, go love that, go say big, go say that. That was always a secret then. One day I'd have glossy lips and my lips would have been light. I know my ex, don't know studies. I know ain't got it, it's just honest line. I no longer complex about honest line. One of a kind, so forever cut anything, anything no more. I still love him, and I don't know if it's a blessing. No, it's and I wasn't ready.
Let's begin. Go say yes, go lay back, go stay big, go stay mad. I was always a secret then. The one day I have lost this family, it's what I like. I mean the first, the second, the last call. How I still want it all. I'm honestly scared to go as a fly. Wish I grew up in the same house together. Cause maybe I'd be here, but then again, I don't. Let's wrap around with the plans because I break the over and over again. If it went the same way, like to let get away. And I have no friends, no friends. I have never been with the same that we pretend, but here we are. It's like the same. Anyway, just for one day. Go stay big, go stay mad. I was always a secret then. One day I have lost it. I know it's there. Can you still hear me? Yeah.
Okay, now back on. Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, one more? One more short one. Oh, 30 seconds. Oh, God. Hold me up like that. I'm sorry. But let's just, do you want to skip forward? This is the baby girl. We have one more song. Is it okay if we just, okay. We're gonna do Baby Girl. I wrote this a song and it's like I don't want to go into detail about it, but it's just about being Palestinian and sad that I have to be in like the diaspora and not fitting in. It's supposed to be deeper, but I'm just talking like this. But yeah, and I think it's just I feel like a lot of people, like a lot of Palestinians feel very left out because they don't know where to fit in the diaspora. So I wrote this about being a girl, Palestinian girl in pain. And sometimes you just have to shake it out. So if you're Arabic, I think you know the word hizzi. So right? So if you hear that, just sing along, okay? Everyone around you, yes, it's a big deal. Something inside and not a big deal, baby. It's not so scared that you're actually real. They choose everything a second before fear. And you don't live. You don't stand for that. You do it say so hissy, shake the pain away, shake the pain away. Tell the hissy, shake the pain away. It's gonna be another day. Baby girl, baby girl, what aren't you? Yes, it's a big Nothing's not a big deal, baby. You're just so scared that you're actually need to everything before yeah, you don't really you know. Shake the pain away, shake the pain away. You're hissy, shake the pain away. It's gonna be another day. Time. Just close your eyes. Realize my life. Oh, be scared. It'll be a time when it's time. Sometimes just close your eyes, your eyes. Don't be scared. It'll be a time. It'll be a time. Shake the pain away, shake the pain away. Other hissy, shake the pain away.
All right, thank you so much. I feel like we just got a preview of like an NPR Tiny Desk concert. It'll be out in like okay, cool. We're gonna hear next from Andrea Babington. Andrea is the president of the Toronto and York Region Labor Council, representing over 220,000 union members. An immigrant to Canada in her youth, Andrea joined the labor movement when she began working in the hotel sector in downtown Toronto. She is the first woman of color to sit as president. Andrea is committed to fighting for a just economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic and beyond, equality and justice for all workers, growing the labor movement by increasing union density, and fighting for climate justice to ensure a future for our children. So give it up for Andrea.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me down there? All right. So, no disrespect to the singer up here before, but I wanna just I don't have that melody, I don't have that golden voice, but before I start saying anything, and I know when I'm standing there, I'm really thinking about why we're here. You know, the importance of why we're here, and I think it takes us also, even for myself, just the reflection of who we are and one of the many reasons why we're in here together. So part of it, I just wanna, as a part of my own union choir for many years, just using that, it wasn't about being the best voice or any of us tell ourselves we were singers. It's coming from the hospitality sector. This was a place where we get together every week, once a week, just and sing. And sometimes we fight before we sing. It was our 13 women from different hotels. And on our way to the church beside the Eaton Center, we used to practice there. And half of us was fighting each other going to the church. But once we got into the church, it was different. And we sang like no tomorrow. And we sang crappy. And I remember we sat down with someone who wanted to just to put our story into a point and ask each of us why we are in this country. Why did we come to this country? And when we work into a sector like the hotel sector, why do we stay? And that's when we realized later, as we listened to each other after that last 1 hour fight to get into the church. And we realized we were coming in to sing. It gave us peace. It bring us closer back to our home country. And it get us to remind ourselves that in spite of all the stuff that we've been through, all the stuff that we're going through, that we were doing it with each other. We were holding on to each other. We come from all over the globe, but in the end, we were one. And for us to win, it's gonna take all of us together. And one of those songs that I always remember, and there's so many of them we use on the picket line, and maybe most of you probably know it even better than I, but one of them, I'll do the first verse of it, and it goes, ain't we got a right? Ain't we got a right to the tree of life? You can tell all my sisters, ain't we got a right? You can tell all my brothers, ain't we got a right? Tell it to the world, ain't we got a right? Ain't we got a right to the tree of life? And so, I realized the last few months, as we listened and we glued on to the news and wherever we could find news of what was happening in another part of the world, what was happening in Palestine. Sometimes we want to disappear because we don't want to have that conversation. And sometimes it was too hard because it hit home for a lot of us. And sometimes we were not even sure how you comfort others. And for me, when I came here as a young person and over the years as I have my children, and I remember with my 2 boys, and I later adopted another boy, and they were all young men that I worked so hard. And on my way home, I remember at midnight I would be coming home and I hear the news, and it wasn't something great. And half of those times, I think I step on the brake in the middle of the intersection because I keep listening. The age bracket of who died, who shoot each other, and I'm trying to compare. And sometimes it's not much description, so I'd walk into my house and up the stairs and try to knock on the door, but the fear over me that I'm gonna knock on one of those doors and one of them is not in their bed. And they're either the one that died or the one that did the killing. Because that's when it comes from my community as young Black men. And half of the time it's them telling me about their discrimination and racism. And I often spend a lot of time saying to them, you know, this is a big bad world. You know, wake up. Because some of you know, my kids, one was born here and the other not, and the one I adopted also coming to this country and they're excited about the country. And they should be. And then it's me with the voice of doom. That voice of doom always saying, wake up, wake up. It's not as easy as you think. You have to be a 150% to be whole in this country. It's not a good thing. They fight me most of the time thinking you're crazy until they come back with the story. And I tell this story because today, as we are here and we should be celebrating Women's Day. Because a lot of this mother, like myself, the fear, wondering, and those women in that church who work the crappy job and all they want is a better life for their family. I think back. And as I watch them and as they get older and seeing them going to go, it's no different. I am someone who got off of a flight, wasn't even sure. I know my father passed away and I got here. And I just want to live. I wanted to have a relationship with a sister. I had my mom had 5 boys. I was the only girl. And I have a half a sister. And that was exciting. And I came in and I saw the craziness. But one of the things that I think draw me closer, when I went to work and I saw women from all over the world, and I thought, wow, like they were all treating me, you know, they said, you are my child because I was that young in that place. But their eyes was just glazed over. They were sad. They were sad. And I would ask, why? And they always said, you know, we're not staying here too long. We're not staying in this workplace. I just want my children that I brought here to have a better life, and I'm willing to tough it out. I left my children in my country, and I want to tough it out. So I'm qualified for immigration to bring them here. And those are all the stories. But imagine us gone through that, and we leave families behind, we leave children behind, and we wake up to bad news. And how do we, when we look at, you know, we get up and since last weekend to now where we're celebrating Women's Day, it's supposed to be exciting. It's supposed to be us looking at our journey. It's supposed to be us looking at the people before us, the women before us, and some men who gave us their shoulder to stand on as well. That kind of achievement. And yet we feel like we went one step forward. And so sad. So we see in this war and massacre, it's women, again, at that forefront. We're not disrespecting the men that go through this, but women who sometimes, even our spouse, think we're just a good cook and nothing else. And sometimes we wonder why should we vote? Are we allowed to vote? One day we're gonna have that right. One day we're gonna have a voice. And all of these things are things we talk to ourselves about. And suddenly we're faced with someone else or decide for us that you have no right. Decide for us in our own country. Stay in another country and decide that we have no right until they say so. And how do we celebrate Women's Day? It's our children that's dying. It's our better half that's dying. It's women that's dying. It's women throughout this continue to hear that they have no right. And so they have to take those rights. So I'm excited when I look in this space and see, you know, like when for me driving from Queensville, I was cleaning the snow off of my car and all of that and coming down and hoping everybody compare with me. I see a little bit of flake there, but I'm excited to see that all of you in this room are here not because you have nothing to do. It's because doesn't matter where you're from, we're saying the same thing. And we're not just saying it to ourselves, I have right. I think we're saying it because we're saying every single one of us have rights. No one have that right to take it away from us. Some of us spend our lifetime developing that voice to even say it. And to be pushed back, it's not okay. When we stand up for Palestine, we're not the next door neighbor standing up for Palestine. That's our Palestine. I'm from Jamaica, but that's my Palestine. Because if I look the other way and think that's their problem over there, then it's certainly going to be mine someday. And if I've gone through this kind of a fight before, then shame on us if we're not stepping up to support the one that's in this struggle right now. Do you agree with me?
Yeah.
So I think it's so important that we don't get up Monday morning and say, you know, what a lovely weekend, or oh, it was International Women's Day, without making a promise to ourselves. If you're the quiet one, it's okay to speak up. If you can't do it loud enough, then write it. Let's write. If we have to write to someone to say, you know, take this journey with me, let's do it. If you have to go to a friend to say, how do we bring others to this? Yes, because sometimes people look like they don't care. It's not true. Sometimes they're like us, they're the shy ones, they're not sure what to do. Sometimes they're not sure what do you say to comfort each other. So it's very important that we don't mistake any of that. Continue to speak out. Continue to stand up. We know our fight don't come in nice weather. It's crappy weather like this. So we can't postpone it for another day. When we think of the weather out here and think of our neighbor, we think of people in Palestine that probably don't even recognize today as Sunday. They just know they need another day. This is so important. If I think about what I'm going to have for dinner this evening, does it matter for them? They just want life. They worry about their children having life over them. So it's very important that we are not just looking at just to be grateful. And I don't want you to spend today thinking that it's not important to live ourselves as women. It's very important because others made this journey before us. Others came before us and wrote the books. Some of those pages we haven't read yet, but we're here. We're here. And so we have a duty to make sure that we continue this message. We don't have to have men over here and women over here. But I think what's important, if we have to come together for the next generation to come. Whoever's child it is that get up and wage war on Palestine, do we want to see another person's child beside this many years to come? If we stay silent, then we're going to wonder. But our voice is gold, and I think it's important that we keep talking to each other, pushing each other in a good way. Because sometimes angry people doesn't mean that they're just haters. They just don't know. Some of them are blind to things, And we just have to keep talking about it. And some are real haters. And we can't run away from them either. We have to stand up to bullies. We have to make sure that we continue to speak out. We got to make sure that we continue to see this through. If you are from Palestine, I want to say to you, I'm sorry for what you're going through. But your fight is my fight. When I hurt, my hurt is no different from yours. But I know I cannot have a future. My children, their children will never have a future if we look away from what's happening in Palestine. It looked like it's so far away, but we don't have to be there to take this fight on. We can do it right here. We can knock on door. And somebody say, why you wanna scare your politician here? Sure, we can scare them. Because this is a multi-racial, a multicultural city. This country, it's of all shade. And so they come to us when it's election time. So why can't we push them as well to say, what say you? Because if you're not around and if you're sad and if your country is broken, then you're not whole. Your community here is not whole. And we got to stand together. We got to make sure that we do this through unity. We do this through unity because that's what's important. It's about the tree of life. It's about all of us feeling proud of who we are. All of us, when we got off the flight from wherever you come from, if you were born here, if you're children from an immigrant parent, and when they told you their story, why they're here and why they want a better life for you. And if you got here and you have your own dream and aspiration, it's not gonna prosper if we just stick our fingers through our ears, if we cover our eyes. It's very important that we stand strong. Marking Women's Day, women led this. Even if they were not the first on the job line, if they were not the first for politician, if they were not the first to be seen as the first educator, they led, they embrace, they wipe the tears, they motivate. And so we got to stand strong as women, sisters, and if you're queens, we have to stand strong to make sure we remember our role. It's about us being together. It's about us making sure that we use today as a marker that, yes, we are proud. We are proud as women. We are proud to be somebody's daughter. We are proud to be somebody's mother. But we have to continue with our role. Speak up, stand up, and continue to lead. Lead. Others that's afraid, help them, hold them, and let us continue this fight. Let us see victories true for Palestine. I just want to say on behalf of Toronto and York Region Labour Council, we stand up. We stand up for racial justice, economic justice, social justice, racial justice. And we cannot be whole, representing over 220,000 working men and women, if we are not going to speak out, if we're not going to speak out about our neighbors, if we're not going to speak out about our members' country as they ache in here. So I want to say to all of us, solidarity, let us stand strong. Sisters, queens, brothers, comrades, continue. Let us continue this fight. Let us continue to speak up. You have a right to the tree of life. Woo!
Thank you, Andrea. The labor movement is stronger with you in it and your voice and your compassion. Last up for today, we have Layla Stats. Oh, I lost my sleep. I really like Layla. Last year, Layla got me. Oh, yay. You got your baby with you too?
Yeah.
Thank you, Layla.
Sego, that's how we say hello in Moa. Sego.
Sego.
Sego, it's gonna go Layla Stats Young Yads. Ahnawara Niwagi Tarodan. Kanya Ihaga Niwago Wanjodan. Oswego Nidabageno. I said hello, my name is Layla Stats. I'm Mohawk Turtle Clan from the Six Nations of the Grand River. And yeah, you know, standing here as a Mohawk woman, as a land defender, as you know, some may say a terrorist, as a mother, as a he wants the drum. That's the drum and microphone. He's all about it. I want to you know, acknowledge the entity. You know, when I think of the water, it's not just like a resource. It's not just like a chemical compound of hydrogen and oxygen. It's not just something that we need to stay alive, but it is alive. It knows us. It hears us. It remembers our ancestors. And it has been a guiding force. And as women, you know, we are the original water carriers, right? I need to stand up. I need to channel my energy here. Just gonna fix it. And in Mohawk, they call it Onega Onwe, the first waters, Onega Onwe. And we carry those waters. We were born in those waters. And they're ancient. And so they've been a guiding force for me on this reclamation journey I've been on. As a generational survivor of residential schools, I was never taught these teachings. I was never taught that water was alive. I was never taught that I could talk to it, that it could hear me. And you know, now science is proving what my ancestors had told me. You know, there's this incredible study. The incredible study by Dr. Emoto, and yeah, and he put water under a microscope and spoke words to it and documented how the water changed, you know, on a microscopic level, like it was feeling the words spoken. So it does hear us. No technical difficulties. Remember that. Okay. Nobody move. Nobody breathe. So anyways, I want to start us off with a song, the water song, the Mohawk water song. And I sing this song for the water. You know, it's gonna hear me. It's, you know, it will vibrate with me, and you know, you are that water. You know, that it's within us, it is us. So I'm just gonna like get grounded and feel that channeling. Yonganalungwa onega, yonganalungwa onega, ganega yolo, ganega lolo, gaya ya ya ya.
It was so funny because, well, it wasn't funny, but the day I was arrested, it was November 19th, 2021. And in Wet'suwet'en, BC, Wet'suwet'en territory, and we were defending the Wenzigwa, their sacred headwaters. It's this incredible river. And this river, it was the first time when I got there, it was the first time that I had ever drank from a river. And putting your hands in that river and like putting it up to your lips, it was like electricity, like lightning bolts all through my body. Like it was like the first moment that I'm like, this water is alive. Like it's living inside of me. I can feel it. This is how water is supposed to be. There is no, like, we have to protect this. We have to save her. And that day on the bridge, there was 8 of us land defenders, and just this huge mobilization of just colonial violence and domination and intimidation. Hundreds of RCMP in formation marching to us, helicopters circling, attack dogs, and they're like pulling at the chains and they're barking. And I think that was like one of the things that as I was standing there and I was like, these dogs, they're just following orders. They don't know I'm a good person. They don't know I work with kindergartens, and they don't know like all of these awesome workshops I'm doing for youth around Turtle Island. Like, no, they just know sick 'em, and they're gonna do what they're told. Just like these cops that are coming at me with these automatic rifles. They're just doing what they're told. So in that moment, there is a decision that you make. And as a mother, I have 4 kids. And so, thinking about my kids, I'm like, Layla, you are about to be arrested, and you're going to have to deal with whatever consequences our country wants to put in place for you. And I just kept thinking about my kids, seeing me on the news, seeing me in handcuffs. And I thought about picking them up at school, and like, I'm that mom, and like, oh my God, did you see her on the news? Like, she got arrested. She's that terrorist one. And yeah, so it was like, okay, so all of these things crossed your mind. You're like, I could run, I could go, avoid all of this. And it was just like this moment of questioning. And I'm like, whose laws? I see this law coming at me. I see Canada's laws coming at me with down the barrel of a gun. And those are not the laws that I live by. And I questioned it. And I said, Layla, whose laws are you willing to die for? Whose laws mean more to you? I thought about my kids. I'm like, this is why you have to stand here. This is why you must stand. You must stand and face this head on. And so this song that I want to play, are we ready to play a song? Can we play the first one? This song that I want to play, I actually, I sang it to the cops. And it was just like at this moment, I'm like, okay, no, like I'm choosing the law of the land. I'm standing for the water. I feel it. I'm ready to face these cops. And I was just like, Layla, just sing. That's what you can do. So just do that. And I had written this song. It's called White Pine. And the white pine is we call it the tree of peace. The Haudenosaunee have a story of our peacemaker, and he brought all of our nations together, and we buried their weapons and our hatchets under the tree of peace. So I sang this to a wall of cops. And I think it's this cable is really okay. And I'm gonna sing for you today. I come in peace. Why I down on my
Made it through wide fire. Leave all your hate. Made it through wide fire.
bury your ashes, lower your guard, calling all enemies, open your heart. Bury your ashes, lower your guard, calling all enemies, open your heart. And white needed the white pine. Leave on your hand. Needed the white pine.
Bro, I think about it today, and I'm like, I wonder if any of those cops that were there that day, they're like, oh, that was that girl on the bridge that sang to us.
Brothers and sisters, rise up again. Remember the peacemakers' journey within. Brothers and sisters must rise up again. Remember the peacemakers' journey within. And the white pine needed the white pine. And the white pine needed the white pine. Come pray with me. 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 Come pray. Bury your hatchets, lower your guards, calling all enemies, calling all enemies. Come pray with me, come pray. The white pine, it is the white pine. Thank you. Yalla.
But you can actually, I'm actually like a legitimate musician, like on Spotify, you can, like, I'm on there now.
So we're heading out to Halifax for the Junos, for my brother, who was nominated for a Juno. Album, which my partner's like, you're basically on every track, so like it's kind of your Juno too. But yeah, so I've been with him, playing music forever, but just this year have taken that step to put my own songs out there. So White Pine was the first song that I put on Spotify. And my film, my new documentary that is actually playing in Markham today for like thousands of people at the little NHL event that's going on in Markham, where all those Indigenous hockey teams are coming to a big tournament. So I'm off to there right after. But that film, whenever you get a chance to see Boil Alert, or like DM me if you want like a super secret link that I can't share with anyone. I can. Because it needs to be seen. I traveled to several First Nations communities all over Turtle Island that were struggling with boil water advisories. I lived in these communities. I sat at their tables. I told these stories. I heard these stories, and the things that I felt, that I changed, that I experienced, I can never unhear them. I can never unsee them. And the film is not your typical documentary. It really, you're taken through a guided process, and I feel like the world would be a better place if everyone sees it. So send me a message. I'm a real person on Instagram. I check my own messages. I'll send it to you, but don't tell anyone. Okay. So I guess I'm going to just sing this one last song and we're going to wrap up. So this song, and yeah, I'm sorry, we had like a last minute like downloading. So it's like, it kind of sounds like robots are living in the song, but we're just gonna roll with it again. This song, I wrote it in the middle of filming, and I came home, and every place, like I felt like, I didn't expect. I just thought I was gonna go hold a microphone and tell these people stories, but every community, every person, like I felt this unpacking happening. Like as I was living and seeing these conditions and seeing these, especially the youth. Niskandiga is a place that most people in this country do not know exists. And they have passed 10,000 days on boil water advisory, 27 years, the longest in Canada ever, and nobody knows about it. Their community is in a state of emergency, and it is not because of the water, it is because of the youth suicide. I sat with the chief at his table, and after the cameras go off, there was a lot of times when I would have conversations with people, and they weren't on film, they weren't in the movie. But he, I could just tell like he was like holding this heaviness, and he said, Layla, I've performed CPR on 26 youth in this community, and I haven't saved one. And you could just feel like this heaviness inside of him, like that our people carry. To say to get out of the res alive is like an understatement. When you see these, it is an epidemic. And so that was something that was really hard. And then packaging, like there's like this parallel story of me, struggling with my identity as an Indigenous woman. Like, am I Native enough? Where do I belong? Where do I fit in? And, my very checkered past, all of it. I just threw it all out there in the film. I was like, well, you might as well bear it all and be truly vulnerable and genuine about where you've come from. So I was sitting by the fire on my papa's land, and I was just having like one of those moments. And I said, Nan, Papa, if you had a message for me, like what would you be telling me right now? What do I need to hear? And this song just like poured out of me. I only know three chords on guitar, but I wrote this one. So, well, they died. Capella. Okay. Well, acapella then, I guess. So might be overthinking it. Okay, so it's a really great song. We'll just have to wing it. This is not my story. The scars lie in the name. They only see the glory, and no one sees the pain. I will rise from your ashes. I will dig out of your grave. I will use the voice I'm given. I'll be strong and I'll be brave. Rise up, fist in the air. Rise up, rise up, rise again. Rise up, you got to rise up. You got to rise up, rise again. Give a nice round. In my verse one. Their voices may be quiet, their whispers in my head say fall, but don't be silent. Like the sun, my faithful friend, I will rise from your ashes. I will dig out of your grave. I will use the voice I'm given. I'll be proud and I'll be brave. Rise up, rise up, rise up, rise again, rise up. You got to rise up, rise again. Okay, now it's time. Yeah, actually, I sang that song like it came to me from I think my grandparents, and then I sang it for the very first time. The track worked though at Kamloops powwow, and so we were on a music tour. My brother and they're like, "Hey, do you want to do a quick set to open for your brother?" I was like, "Okay." So I go up there on my own with my track, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna sing this song," and suddenly it like took a life of its own. Rise up. It was like, because Kamloops is the site of the residential school, the very first school where they found all the children's bodies, and so we were there, and I was just like, I could feel this, like, I don't know, it was like they were all saying like, rise up, like all of my ancestors, all of these children, like everyone was like, rise up, gotta rise up. It was just it was crazy. So it was a crazy moment. But yeah, so you know, as a woman, it's you know, I've been going and going and going and telling the story. I feel like when I was arrested in Wet'suwet'en, one of the things, there's a couple of videos you can check that on YouTube, like Google or YouTube me. Some interviews that I did about the arrest. But when they finally did arrest me and they put me in the back of the cruiser, like this really weird moment that like sticks with me forever. And I'm sitting there and I'm, you know, traumatized. Like I'm like, what the heck? Like, this did I just go through? Like, I can't believe this just happened to me. My hands are cuffed behind my back. I'm like shaking. I look up and this cop like it's closing the car and he looks down at me and he smiles and he winks at me. And I'm like, did he just wink at me? Like, really? That's so gross. I'm like, and there's another girl in the car. He just winked at me. I'm like, that's not illegal. I know there's no laws broken, but I feel like I've just been like violated. Like this show of dominance that he was in that position that he could do that. That is presumed authority over me. And the whole experience was just, you know, we were transported in the back of these dog cages and in the back of these SUVs, and like it was just so degrading. The three Mohawks that were there,
that out of the 8, you know, like we were put in ankle and wrist shackles, and like some of the other people weren't even handcuffed. And it was just like this show of dominance and oppression. And when I got home, I went to a rally because, you know, that's what I think it was like like landed from the plane at the airport, went to Hamilton for a rally, and like drove right there. And there was all these reporters, CTV, CBC, and they were like wanted to tell our story of us just being arrested as, you know, Mohawk land defenders that were over in Wet'suwet'en. And I just sat in the car and I saw these police cherries, these red and blue. And I was like, I felt this paralysis come over my body, and I was like, I can't move. Like I just wanted to slink in the chair, and I'm like, I can't talk to anyone. I can't tell my story. I'm just like so afraid. And I was like, this, like one of the, I have a lot of these slap in the face moments where I just need to like bitch slap myself. And that's what I call it, the bitch slap, because I really genuinely need to do it to myself sometimes, like a mental in my, like, Layla, what heck? You know, like this is what they intended. This is why that overuse of force, that domination, that intimidation was used. Those dogs, those helicopters, like it was all intentional. So that I would sit here paralyzed in this car and I would not move. So that I would not speak on those cameras. So that I would not make this film. So I would not stand up here and share these stories over and over and over again and talk about my arrest and talk about my experience, because I would be afraid and I'd be ashamed. I'm not going to let that happen. And every opportunity, you know, since then I've continued to tell my story and to take every opportunity that I can to keep making sure that people understand what is happening right under their nose, because once you know, you can't unknow, and so we operate differently. So in Mohawk, we do not have a word that means goodbye, which I think is very symbolic. You know, we're all on this path, and we will just see you on the path soon. So we say Onegawahi. So Onegawahi, thank you for having me. I do have to run to the next thing. But I'm so here. And before I go, I want to teach you one Mohawk word. Can I do that? Yeah? Okay, this word is really important to me because I did a lot of work with survivors of the residential school, and one of them, Geronimo Henry, Google him. He went to the school when he was 5. He left when he was 16. And so there's 11 years of his life, he never left that school. And he said, Layla, of all the traumas that I experienced in my life in that school, the one that sticks with me the most is that I never heard the words, I love you. And so, like, you know, just thinking of generations, hundreds of thousands of children that grew up never hearing the words, I love you. And, you know, like, not to mention all the horrors and abuse on top of that. So I like to teach the word I love you, so that like when we say it, and we say it in Mohawk, you know, it's like us reclaiming that love for them, and like us taking that back, and just like they hear it and they're like, they love us, we love them. So repeat after me. Don't worry about doing it wrong or like anybody laughing at you or making fun of you or upsetting the ancestors. It's okay. Just do your best. And so Gonalonkwa. Gonalonkwa. And I think you guys got it okay. So now we're gonna say it like, just put your feet both on the ground and just like channel it up from your heart and like push it out. And we say Gonalonkwa. Gonalonkwa. Yes, that's awesome. Okay, so I felt that like it's like a love thing. So Gonalonkwa, I love you. Onegawahi and Yamagoa. Thank you so much for having me here.
You know that's okay. That's the program, everyone. Thank you all for sharing some of your weekend with us in celebration of International Women's Day. Thanks to the comrades that planned this event. Thanks to the tech crew. Kevin was working very hard today. And the book table will only be up for about another 15 minutes, so seriously encourage you to go check it out. And this event, as we said at the beginning, is entirely funded by donations. So if you are so moved, there's a table, a cash box on the table if you're interested. And let's continue struggling for peace.
So I guess I'm ending this. This is all done. All right.